This is how I keep myself organized,
Mm-hmm.
by having a visual, you know. I take this with me a lot of times.
Oh, that's your calendar?
Yeah.
Oh wow, can you tell us what it is?
Well, it's small, so I can just, if I'm going somewhere, I can just stick it in anything I'm working with, and I take it with me. But I find that if I'm driving along and somebody wants me to do an event, I pull over and I can just pull this out. Otherwise, I got to take out my cell phone. I don't want to do it when I'm driving, and then I have to. It seems like, you know what? This works really easily. I usually have 2 pens on me. I've been doing this since college. I usually have 2 pens in my pocket because somebody's going to end up taking one of them before the end of the day, and at night I always have one. So I have pens on me, and I have this, and I just write little notes. And when I circle it, it means pay attention. You know? So, because I'm a visual person, in my other studio I had a nice big thing like this, a corkboard, and I had all the things on it and paper. But sometimes if I wasn't there, it was hard to do it. So I find that I would come home, and then I put this, when I'm back at my other studio, I put this stuff on, and that keeps me organized. Otherwise, you need a wife who can put up with you, or a partner who can put up with you and try to help you. I have a partner, Barbara, who is really helpful, and she keeps me. She texts me all the time now to remind me. Like tomorrow, I have to do it's called a site visit, where I go and meet some well-to-do people, and I have to explain to them in 20 minutes what I would do with them for an hour and a half if they bring a bunch of people. And so I'm what they call, my grandmother used to call a schmoozer. You have to schmooze people. I mean, be nice to them and hope that they give the business to the people who hired me. That's one thing I've done. And you know, when I was younger, I didn't do public speaking at all. I didn't even take it in high school because I was too afraid to look like a jerk in front of my friends. So over the years, it's been necessary as an artist to be able to public speak. And actually now I enjoy it, which is really weird, you know. I never liked acrylic paints until I used them a lot, and now I love them. So I was never going to move to California, the land of fruit and nuts, and now I am one. You know, I stopped saying a long time ago, I'll never do that. I was never going to have sushi. I was never going to leave Massachusetts. I don't know, I had a number of nevers in that. So, as I've gotten older, I realized you just have to, like, you know that expression when they say, go with the flow? I used to think people are nuts when they would say that. I say, that's just not taking control of your life. And you know what? It works better when you just relax and wait and see what happens. And then, you know, 70% of all the worrying you do never comes true, you know. And I think that might be 80%. And then when the 20 or 30% does happen, like you finally do get the flat, you take the 20 or 30% and go and fix the flat. You don't worry about it, but you take care of it. You don't have time to worry. So I've had to learn that over the years, you know, and also to learn to be patient. I used to be very impatient, and I would try to paint really fast, you know. Now it has its own speed, its own. My teacher used to say to me, you know, Michael, your painting will speak to you. And I thought he was nuts. He was from California, by the way. He said, no, you have to look at the painting because, you know, paintings are like this is a silent language. It talks to you, but you have to learn to listen. And all you have to do is pay attention. Mostly the thing is I pay attention to what you're doing and go by your instincts. You know, what does it feel like? It's like when you know you should leave a party because it's getting out of hand and the police are going to come any minute. I'm gone. I learned that a long time ago. It's just use your intuition, you know. Sometimes when I ask students, I don't tell them what to do. I ask them what to do. I say, well, what do you think should be done on this left side? Do you have any ideas about that? And they go, well, it looks a little too light. I said, right. It doesn't have a sense of, and I go like this. And they go, balance. I go, right. So I'm like a psychiatrist. I lob them to you, and you trying to get you to understand what you're supposed to do. If the psychiatrist tells you exactly what to do, then what did you learn? So that's why it takes a while for they lob them to you. What I call lobbing. You lob the ball to the person so they can hit it. You ever see that little boy? His father's with his plastic thing, and he's got a big ball on here. And then he gives him a huge bat, and the kid takes a swipe at it, and it goes. The father goes, "All right, what a good boy you are. Oh, you're going to be something." And the kid just lights up. It's a little like that when you're teaching people about art, because they all think they can't do it, and everybody I know can do it. When we were in elementary school, everybody was an artist. I could not tell you. I go to an elementary school, they all look like artists to me. I know the difference is you can say that little girl loves, I don't know, mechanical things. And this boy over here, he likes flowers. Or this kid over here likes tractors. If you just have him do the tractors, encourage him more in that direction, the kid will find his way. But what we try to do is make everybody the same, and then you get lost in the shuffle. So around the 7th or 8th grade in this culture, people stop taking art. And 9th grade, 10th grade, you don't have to take art in high school, so it stops. And guys like me take art, all my art friends, we all took art 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. That's like 5 years, and then I went to undergraduate school 4 more years. That's 9 years, and then I went to graduate school for 2, so that's 11 years. If you do anything for 10 years, you should be really good at it. And I think that's true. But people in America are too impatient. They want everything like that. They think, well, it's like plants. They take time to grow. And when they finally get to where you need them, you have profusion. You have, just look around at the way plants are. What's that milkweed? The one that it looks like little fluffy things that come out of it. And if you open it and go, it's like a million of them. I think it's God's way of making sure that those milkweeds continue, Like a seed, when you buy peas in one of those seed pods, how many are in there? Like 20? It's like, it's everywhere. So that multiples. So that's what I'm doing now these days is I'm interested in doing multiples. Here's a little reproduction of a painting I did recently. This painting is about, 4 feet by 5 feet. So it's 48 inches by 60. So it's as big as I am. And I just love these repetition of form, but they have to have variety. To me, if you have repetition of form and they're all the same, then we were bored. I used to live in a project, and when I would come home, I would notice that the houses were all the same, literally the same. And when I first got there, I couldn't figure out which was my house because they all looked so much alike. So I know that basically the forms are all the same, but they're each one, like people, each one is different. And then here's another one I did. Let's see. Here's one. I like to do this when I go on a trip to a new place and I don't know exactly what to paint yet. And I might be there for 3 weeks. So the first 2 or 3 days, I just walk around and I just go to the post where they sell postcards. Almost every country sells postcards and they're very good because the photographers, like you, Sam, the photographers have a great eye. Your right eye, I think it is, yeah. They have a great eye, and they've already taken probably some of the best places that you're going to visit. So I think, well, if I go there and just pick out the cards I like, and then I do a thing like this, I try to stay within 9. They say that if you, odd numbers of 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, when you go past 9, it gets a little hard it starts becoming too much. Like when you go into the, when you pay for gas and you walk in and there's so many kinds of things to eat. They're all bad for you. So many. It's like, it's overload. So if you go, I try to use that rule of staying to 9. So that's why I have 9 in this piece. Mm-hmm. And somebody who bought that painting got 9 paintings out of me. Little ones, Or sometimes I take, this has repetition in it, but it's like a night scene that I did recently from a trip to Venice. And in this case, it's the repetition of these window shapes that caught my eye. The repetition, kind of like listening to music. You know that's Ringo Starr, and it's going to be a fairly strong beat. If he goes like this, it's probably a love song. And that beat in the background is really important to me. These are the beats, or in music, I could think they call it a staccato. There's a lot of little things going like that. So I'm very much interested in that. Here's something that I might do a painting of. I just love dogs. And here's a photograph I took in a shop like an antique shop, and I thought, well, this is great. Look at all those dogs. And if I did a big painting of this, bigger than they actually are, when you change size in something, people like it. You know, when you go to a toy store and they have a huge pencil that's 8 feet tall, but it's made out of, like, I don't know, foam core, and the fathers are over there grabbing the pencil and playing with it, and the kids. It's because it brings you, as an adult, it makes you feel childlike. So when you take something that's this small and make this little dog this big, then people pay attention, or at least it holds my attention, and I have to be interested myself if I expect people who look at my work to be interested. Like, if you're not an interesting person, not that many people want to talk to you. If you're going to be boring, then you say, well, I don't have that, I don't know. You got to do more things, you know, travel more, read more, go out more, go to exhibitions. What happens, I think children all have it. They're very interested in life. They're always looking at everything. You know, you bring a rabbit into a classroom and they've never really seen a rabbit, you should see how crazy they go. Up to 5th grade. 6th grade, oh, I'm too cool now. 7th grade, oh, they're so cool it hurts. You know, 8th grade. And then by the time you're a senior, you come out of it. But so here's some things from my childhood. I bought these the other day. I looked all over the internet for some cowboys and Indians. We used to have these all over my house when I was a kid. Couldn't find them. So my assistant, Barbara, went online and found these for me. And I have to say, I don't play with them. I got a friend of mine said, Mike, do you play with them? No, I don't play with them. These are called objects of affection. That's what I call it. They're things that we just like to look at, you know, like that truck over there, or that little car. I used to own that car. I missed that car, so I like to just look at it. You know, it was a 1951 Woody Ford. It ate gas like crazy, but it was a beautiful, big old car. It was so simple. So these toys to me remind me of when I was a child. And I think you never want to lose your child in you. I mean, that's a generalization that people say, but I think if you lose the child in you, then you can't laugh at yourself. And it took me a long time, you know, up to about when I was 40, if somebody pulled a joke on me and I was the butt of the joke, I would be really angry, upset. Now it's like I go, they did that to you because they like you, you know? So, you know, this is like taking a bunch of toys and I just would go, nah, I don't like that. Then I'd gather them up, try it again until I got a mixture that I liked, and random, not carefully orchestrated. This one here, this is a more sophisticated version. From a distance, you wouldn't know what that is, but as you come in closer, you realize now it's orchestrated. See the difference? One has randomness, and this one has a kind of a careful. I'm making a kind of a circle or an oval, kind of a rounded oval. And there's no real center of interest. It's just kind of an overall patterning that I like. I love shadows. So you can see I put a real strong light on this to make the shadows. I think shadows are really interesting. Makes the painting adds a whole nother layer of interest to a piece. And I don't know. And then I do a lot of these. I do little drawings. This is a worse paper. But I was trying to think I want to make a horse. And these were my studies. Matter of fact, it's right over there. If you want to turn around, we can go look at it. I was trying to think of horses in the circus. You know, in a circus, the horses go in a circle. They go they all go to the left. They move to the left. And I like it when the horses go like this. They kind of put their heads down, and it's like they just have this wonderful attitude. Nice, big, strong. So that's what this is about. I don't know if you can see it. If I get behind it, maybe you can see it better. Can you see it against my jacket? The way this head is down. So this is really just drawing in the air with wire. So you can draw with a pencil. Just buy some wire and stuff that's really inexpensive, and just pretend you're drawing with a pen. And you can look at your drawing and then just imitate yourself. That's how I do these. This one here is called Bacon. I smell bacon. So it's a friend of mine has this, what do you call those, wiener dogs? I love those dogs. They're really funny. and they run like crazy when they smell. My friend, whenever she starts making breakfast on Sunday morning and she's making bacon, this dog just freaks out. I saw this little dog jump over a thing between the kitchen and the living room this high to get at that bacon. So I was just trying to make rhythms, you know. When you do these, this horse isn't quite finished, and I'm thinking this is what I'm doing here. I have to make a mock-up. I made a figure, but the figure's a little too big. I want the figure to be riding on the, I've seen this in the circus. It's hard to make it literally stay there, because it's kind of heavy. And she was doing this backwards trick. And by the way, when they fall, they really get hurt. He could step on you so easily. But I found those women to be amazing people who can do tricks on these big horses that weigh, I don't know, how much could they weigh? 1,000 pounds? Maybe more. It's a hard concept because it's abstract drawing. And children know how to do that. They see a pine tree and they understand that a pine tree does this. They don't need pine cones and all the rest of the stuff, a squirrel in there. Older people put everything in they know. A child puts in what he sees. And that's what Picasso was always trying to do, it's called getting to the essence of form. Getting to the essence of form is like writing a poem about what you did over the summer vacation as opposed to a long composition with many adjectives and 300 words. Okay, which is harder, making the poem? By the way, it can only be four lines on a piece of paper that you type. Or, you know, looks real simple. Or the composition, which has 2 pages full of writing. The poem is harder. So that's really what this is about. This is like drawing poems. Okay, Sam, this is an etching plate, and when I was in college, I was talking about drawing with line, and all I simply did is instead of drawing on paper, I started drawing on metal plates, and that's called an etching. So if you know Rembrandt, the artist from the Dutch artist, if you look at his plates, they're a lot like this. The same thing. The back of it has got paint on it, so when you put it in acid, the acid won't eat here. But on this side, they put wax, and then you scratch into it, and you put it in acid, and the acid will only eat where you drew. So you're not drawing hard, you're just taking the wax off. That's all you're doing. So it's the same thing I was doing, except now it's put in the acid, now it's been impregnated. This is really cool because now all I gotta do is keep inking this up and print it. So I can make 100 of these. So that's good for an artist, you know, to be able to have multiples of something. Mm-hmm. So I started doing this and I became quite good at it. I worked for maybe 15 years trying to get good at this. And I'm showing you early ones. This is a small one. And then here's when I was getting towards the end of getting tired of doing this, this is an example of a big one. From this simple thing to something more complicated. And this is going to go into an exhibition where I teach at the college. We're having a faculty show, and I'm going to put this in. And my boss really liked this piece, so I'm going to frame it. I did a whole series of these very large ones. This is of my family from Vermont, and I like brown. It seems to fit the subject matter from in the rural parts of Vermont, you know. This is my uncle and my cousin, my dog down here that I used to own. He's no longer with us. Here's my uncle, my stepfather, my aunt, my grandmother is sitting down here. So this is a kind of remembrance of my childhood living and growing up in Vermont. So I did, for about 5 years, I did that subject matter. And then I started doing a bunch of paintings of things. A teacher asked me, he says, well, Michael, you're very good as an artist, but I want to know who you really are. I said, what do you mean who I really am? He said, well, what don't you like? I said, I don't like politicians. I won't say on camera what I think of them, but I'll just give you this example. To me, politicians are like screen doors on a submarine. I don't know, you'll have to think about that one. If you had screen doors in a submarine, you would drown. Okay, so they're kind of useless. They don't do enough. What they do is they argue with each other, and the rest of us have to go on with our lives. I don't like that they keep arguing all the time. I want them to fix things. So he said, well, you feel very strongly about it. I said, yes, I do. He said, well, that's what you're going to do for the first year. In graduate school, I was there for 2 years. He says, the first year, I want you to do that. I said, I don't like politicians. He says, that's what you're going to do.